All right, guys, welcome to Job 39. So, Elihu gave his great long speech and said some very interesting things. And we did just a little quick dig into his name. There's actually quite a bit of history, quite a bit of people talking about him on other things involving some of this. It's very interesting what his name means. And then what he said. At one point, sounded like he was talking about Jesus. And he paved the way for God to come. Now God is speaking. And he has already started to unload, asking questions, but he's still going. He's still correcting Job and the people listening. Job 39 verse 1. Do you know the time when the wild mountain goats bear young? Or can you mark when the deer gives birth? Can you number the months that they fulfill? Or do you know the time when they bear young? They bow down. They bring forth their young. They deliver their offspring. Their young ones are healthy. They grow strong with grain. They depart and do not return to them. Who set the wild donkey free? Who loosed the bonds of the onager? Whose home I have made in wildernesses, or in the wilderness, and the barren land his dwelling. He scorns the tumult of the city. He does not heed the shouts of the driver. Very interesting what he just said there. He scorns the tumult of the city. He does not heed the shouts of the driver. Shouts of the driver. Like a taxi cab? Or a rickshaw? Or a wagon? Interesting. The range of the mountains is his pasture, and he searches after every green thing. Will the wild ox be willing to serve you? Will he bed by your manger? Can you bind the wild ox in the furrow with ropes, or will he plow the valleys behind you? Will you trust him because his strength is great, or will you leave your labor to him? Will you trust him to bring home your grain and gather it to your threshing floor? The wings of the ostrich wave proudly, but are her wings and pinions like the kindly stork's? For she leaves her eggs on the ground and warms them in the dust. She forgets that a foot may crush them, or that a wild beast may break them. She treats her young harshly, as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without concern. Because God deprived her of wisdom, and did not endow her with understanding. When she lifts herself on high, she scorns the horse and its rider. Now there he's hinting at how ostriches can't fly, but you can ride them like a horse, and they're quick. How funny. Have you given the horse strength? Have you clothed his neck with thunder? Can you frighten him like a locust? His majestic snorting strikes terror. He paws in the valley and rejoices in his strength. He gallops into the clash of arms. That's a war horse. He mocks at fear and is not frightened, nor does he turn back from the sword. The quiver rattles against him, the glittering spear and javelin. He devours the distance with fierceness and rage, nor does he come to a halt because the trumpet has sounded. At the blast of the trumpet, he says, "Aha!" He smells the battle from afar, the thunder of captains and shouting. Does the hawk fly by your wisdom and spread its wings toward the south? Does the eagle mount up at your command and make its nest on high? On the rock it dwells and resides, on the crag of the rock and the stronghold. From there it spies out the prey, its eyes observe from afar. Its young ones suck up blood, and where the slain are, there it is. Look at what God did here. Chapter 38, he started out with great, big, broad things up in space. Big, giant revealings. Did you do this? Did you do that? Look where he came. Down to the smallest thing of an eagle feeding her young. Job, did you have any part to play in this? No, you did not. None of it. Most of it you didn't even know. And there's a couple of spots here that sound like he was talking about some future things that didn't exist yet. He went from the great big things down to the smallest thing. See, this is an example of just how much God pays attention to every little tiny detail. Even things we can't see, he pays attention to. He is very much involved in everything that goes on in his creation. Incredible speech by God. Look at the grandeur of the skies and what I've done there. And now look at what's right above you that you never look at or regard. I did all that, and I do all these little things. And even more. And everything in between. And Job, how can you know this? How can you have any effect on this? You're sitting in the dirt, feeling quite sorry for yourself. I've done these things. And if I've done these things... See, I told you guys quite a few chapters back, what I think was happening here. Job was good to go in right standing. But God allowed Satan to do what he did because he was going to show Job something else. He was going to sharpen his faith. He was going... Iron sharpens iron. He was going to develop his understanding. And this event is doing that. It's teaching Job a great many things about himself, but also about God, about the world around him. Taught him things he didn't know about his friends, who I'm assuming aren't going to be his friends anymore. Taught him that knowledge isn't reserved for the old, that the young can have it too. Look at all the things Job is learning. See, God is doing this. He's greatly advancing Job and magnifying him. And he hasn't even done that physically yet. But he's doing it spiritually. Look at how he's growing Job. And this, I think, is going to be the purpose of this. This is the purpose that God was doing. This is why when Satan came, the first thing God said to him was, have you considered my servant Job? He literally brought Satan into what he wanted him to do. And Satan didn't even know it. Amazing. Amazing. That's our God. Powerful. All-knowing. Omnipotent. Omniscient. Alpha and Omega. Beginning and end. First and last. You can't refute him. You can't refute anything of him. I mean, the foolishness of God, if there is any in him and there isn't, is still vastly greater than the wisdom of man. Beyond comprehension. We can't even approach him. Thank God we have Jesus Christ who has made a way for us. But God is clearly showing everybody that's listening. Listen here, fellas. Here's the truth of the matter. And none of them will have an answer. Guys, that was Job 39. The next video will be Job 40. And he continues. God continues his speech. We're still not done. We still got a few chapters left. But notice in chapter 40, Job responds. Chapter 40 is going to be good. Guys, thank you for watching. I thank you all for following along with me in this. I know not a lot of people get into these videos, and a lot of people watch them, but for some reason the Lord is very intently impressed upon me to do these books and get them down on video. I don't know why. That's His will, things I don't know about. I'm just doing what He wants me to do. But what an interesting book we've been led into. What interesting books we covered. I mean, not a lot of people read in great detail from the old prophets, but constantly Jesus and even the apostles referred us back to them. So it behooves us to go and read the major and the minor prophets, because there's a lot to learn. I love you all. I thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.